Welcome to Grawlix Nights, the Grawlix Podcast live show. I'm Randy, and I will be joined momentarily by both Melanie and Jesse. But we're starting off with just me, which is fine, because I'll tell you what's going on tonight, and I've got some other things I wanted to mention, I suppose, too. First, what's going on this episode is we are going to be discussing the Monster of the Week continues, because it's fun. And the monster this week, and this was Jesse's pick, and in the chat, I know there's not a lot of you here yet, but remind me to get a theme for next week. Paul, you're late. Really? Dude, I just started. I had to watch Animaniacs. Lovey face. Okay, interesting. I'm curious about Animaniacs. But the monster of the week is, for this episode, is Infestation. I'm infested. So swarms of creepy crawly things, rats, bugs, whatever. Yeah, Infestation, which is gross. It's a gross theme. And then, so I'm very interested to hear about Jesse and Melanie's movies, the movies they watched. Hey, Savannah, what's going on? Oh, thanks, Paul. You reminded me right now. Well, I mean, I guess our two primary viewers are here. Yeah. I wonder if I can run a poll. I know I can run a poll in like, I don't think I can do a poll like across the three platforms we're streaming to right now. But yeah, if anybody has a suggestion for a Monster of the Week theme for next week, let me know. The other thing I wanted to mention is, speaking of Monster of the Week segment, so we are, because, listen, Melanie and Jesse have actual normal jobs, which is part of the reason I'm starting this episode by myself. So we need to try to cut these live streams down to an hour. Here's what I found. We are surprisingly consistent on our length of episode without being intentional. When I get these, Paul says we're all that matters. As in Paul and Savannah. When I get these ready to go out on the podcast feed, I don't really do a proper edit, but I do throw them in there and do a little cleanup. For example, we get to the Snyder Watch segment within like 5 minutes of a certain time period into the episode every week. It's kind of amazing. So my point is, we've been going 2 hours pretty much consistently for several episodes. Savannah suggests Monster of the Week should be Disease. Did I hear a click? My phone should be quiet. Hopefully that wasn't a sound. Disease. Okay. Oh God, that's gonna be uplifting viewing right now. It's a good suggestion though. Especially if we follow up, essentially lead right, the whole pestilence thing, from infestation and swarms to disease. But we found, so basically we need to try to cut these live streams down to about an hour as opposed to an hour. Here's the thing though. We usually go about an hour. Paul says we have to cut Snyder Watch. Snyder Watch is not getting cut regardless of what we do. Monster of the Week goes about an hour. React to the News goes about an hour. I'm not quite sure which one to cut. And I'm hard pressed to say cut either, but maybe, we just need to get less long-winded. Hey, Jesse, I see you down there. Are you ready to come on screen? Okay.
This is me with my double thumbs up saying how ready I am.
All right. I don't know if I can. Well, Melanie's muted, but she's there. She's just not ready yet. Jesse, what's going on?
Everything, apparently. Sorry I was late. Had a phone call right at the moment where it's like, we would maybe start soon. And it was like, oh, there's a phone call. Oh, there's a StreamYard link. Hey, everybody.
No worries. But yeah, I was just throwing out that because Melanie and I were talking, and I know it's something that's been a concern for you too, is how to cut these streams down, because 2 hours starting at 8 p.m. and maybe that's the thing starting at 8 p.m. But I don't know that earlier is going to work for Melanie. How do we cut these down? Do we axe a segment? What do we do?
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess we can slim out like what we've been watching lately. That kind of takes a little bit. That's not an hour, but that takes up some time.
It's so much fun though.
Maybe
but yeah, you're right.
Paul says maybe a monster movie of the week. Here's the thing though, if we all watch the same movie, we're going to go just as long as if we talk about 3 different movies. It doesn't, and if people prefer that, which I do like, that's more conversational, so I do like that. But if people prefer that, we can do that. I figured it's fun to have a little bit more freedom. Like maybe Jesse doesn't want to watch some 1985 Dario Argento movie.
Is that a spoiler?
Yeah. Oh. I don't know that I wanted to watch a 1985 Dario Argento movie. But I don't know. It's just something to think about. It sounds like Paul's suggestion of a monster movie of the week's not bad, but it's not really going to slim it down. Snyder Watch is staying. It doesn't matter.
We got to have standards, guys.
We don't really drag Snyder Watch out that long compared to the general react to the news segment. Savannah says, I'm supportive of whatever. Savannah says, whatever sounds good to you. Basically. I like all the restaurants. Where do you want to go?
Oh no.
Problem is we're all kind of that way.
Equivalent. Yeah.
Savannah's totally not that way. I don't know what you're talking about. Savannah's always like, I want this specific thing from this specific place and I want it now.
Right. And Paul says, you do you. You got us hooked anyway.
Yeah. It's my sparkling personality, I think.
Do you have any thoughts, Melanie, on like, because we had talked about it and I don't know where you felt like what's your least favorite segments excluding Snyder Watch?
That one's not off.
I made a graphic for that one. That one's staying.
If I had to cut one, I would probably rather cut the news because a lot of times it's stupid and I don't care about most of it. Right. I mean, occasionally there's something that I have an opinion about, but a lot of times I'm just like, okay, well, it's just a thing. That's another thing, like 100 other things, and I have no feelings about it. So, yeah, that's my opinion.
So where I'm at on the news, the main thing, okay, so the news started when we were doing the live shows on the regular. It started, was it last summer?
It was on the
summer before last? Summer before. We've been doing this for a while now. Because we needed regular topics, but did not necessarily like have time to read a new comic book or movie every couple of days to hit the live show. So it was a good like thing to give us something to talk about. But also I do kind of enjoy, it gives us lots of different topics that we can discuss. And I think that's part of the problem is like, Melanie, like if you're not interested, you're just not going to talk about it. You don't care. You want to move on.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, well, let's just find something that we can maybe have a thing to say about.
So maybe you should just let Melanie pick the news, and then we'll always have something.
I mean, I'm down for that for at least one episode because I want to know what that episode is like.
So it's gonna be "Why Aren't You Amazed" episode.
Well, I mean,
that could potentially be a super fun episode. Actually,
I know this. So.
Oh well. Anyway, we don't have to belabor the.
Tell us in the chat.
Yeah,
wherever the chat is, it's somewhere.
Paul says, first off, I like Paul's hashtag passive Grawlix. Also, he says, so you're saying that no news would be good news?
Well, in general, it's kind of true. It's like I'm gonna remake one of your childhood favorites and make it crap.
That's we've got those stories.
I know.
I'm looking at one now. So, but also, like, I have thoughts on it.
Yeah.
I have thoughts on it. So, okay. The other thing I wanted to mention real quick before we get rolling into it, but this also kind of ties into it. If I wanted to be cheesy, I could have gotten away with this as my like swarm kind of movie of the week. I recently watched Tremors Shrieker Island, which is the 7th Tremors movie.
Holy moly! I knew
they have
were
7.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
All you have to do is walk without rhythm. That's all you have to do. Come on.
And anyway, I won't say what I thought of it because tomorrow there's a new episode of Movie Guys podcast, and I was a guest on it, and we discuss that movie. So
that's why you weren't just like, man, I really just need some more Tremors in my life.
It was okay. No, listen, if you like Salty Randy, you got to listen to that episode. And I felt kind of bad because one of the guys liked it. I crapped on it the entire time, and I went hard on it. Like it was not good. It was an extreme disappointment to me. I don't know why I had a bar, but it's one of those movies where you're like 30 seconds in, you're like, oh.
No, there's a reason. The reason you had an expectation is the same reason kind of that I gave to you earlier why that is such a great movie, because it's not. Because it's a bad movie made really well.
The first Tremors.
And so you're like, okay, well, it's going to be bad, and you kind of you give it to me leniency. But when it's bad, then it's total crap.
I'd say the first Tremors. The first Tremors is amazing. It's because it's a good movie, but it thinks it's a terrible movie.
Yeah. Trying
to elevate itself when it's just like, well, you weren't that bad to begin with, so you're pretty good. It's very charming. And this was not. This was like, it wasn't Asylum level. It was a notch above Asylum, but it still felt like they are going to make most of their money from Sci-Fi Channel when they eventually sell the rights to just replay that forever. So Paul said, good, you crapped on someone else for a change. I'm not always crapping on you, Paul. I just crap on the things you like.
That's the hashtag passive aggressive Grawlix.
And I'll throw it out there again. Somebody suggested disease for next week's Monster of the Week. I'm on the fence about that because that's not, no matter what you watch, it's not going to be uplifting. It's a good suggestion. Savannah suggested it, but we're still open to more suggestions. Mm-hmm. Do we want to jump right into it?
I want to watch The Stand. Okay, anyway.
Would that be like disease?
It's a 3-part miniseries.
You better start now.
Actually, I only want to watch the first 2 because the last one sucked. But it's Stephen King, so there you go.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, hey, Monster of the Week. Jesse picked this one because it was very last minute, and I was like, "Oh, what should we do, guys?" It's a good suggestion because it kind of it's Infestation, but I felt like this opened the doors. There's a lot of potential for a movie that falls into pests or infestation. So Jesse, do you want to kick it off?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, like basically the movie that kind of spurred the idea in the first place is one that I hadn't seen in a while, and I was kind of hankering to watch again anyways. And that was 2003's Willard. Not the original Willard. This is a remake. But I knew of it because Crispin Glover's in it.
Yeah, I was gonna say Crispin Glover's so weird.
Yeah, like he's weird, and that's the reason to watch it. It's like you watch this movie to be either mesmerized or turned off by Crispin Glover and his bizarre charisma.
Does he
or lack of charisma?
Does he dance in this?
Not that I recall. I mean, I just rewatched it, but I don't recall a dance scene necessarily. Okay. But there's a lot of like bizarre cuddling with the rats, particularly for those of you watching the video, the white rat named Socrates.
So something I was thinking about because you posted a picture of Willard in our Grawlix chat, our messaging chat group, whatever.
Yes.
And I had also, after you mentioned Infestation, posted a clip from Ticks of Clint Howard going,
"Yes,
I'm infested." So, which I would play if I would.
Take the gun.
It's so that movie. Oh, but that's not the movie I watched. But that got me thinking. In our last week, we come up with our fantasy casting of Nicolas Cage and Christopher Walken co-starring in a movie. And we decided who was the bad guy. Walken was going to be the bad guy, and Cage had to be the hero or something. Either way,
right?
Clint Howard, Crispin Glover, henchman.
Oh, amazing, amazing, amazing.
There's no like digital video or film stock that can hold what that movie would be.
Because I was like watching this movie, I was like, I gotta throw Crispin Glover in this same like group, you know, put him in there with Steve Buscemi, you know, like there are just these actors that are kind of character actors. I mean, I think Crispin Glover jumps around a little bit more, but he's known for that bizarre quirk, you know. It's like Johnny Depp, but far more unsettling.
Yeah. Any video or anytime he's been on like late night talk shows, it's so uncomfortable.
It's kind of like a old, you know, I'm sure a lot of people have probably seen it, but if you haven't, look up Crispin Glover, David Letterman, I think it is. He has some appearances on David Letterman, and either he was just Crispin Glover's weird enough to where it could have just been a performance. One of those like Joaquin Phoenix art becomes real life type scenarios where he's playing a character, but it's supposed to be like, you know, in the real world, he's just being weird. Or he was lost on drugs, but it is amazing and uncomfortable. And David Letterman gets very upset and tells him to leave. And it's amazing. I'm sorry, continue, man.
No, you're good. I'm having a brain fart. Andy Kaufman, he's very it's like you don't know, is he real? Like it's almost like if you've ever, same thing with like Mr. T. Like Mr. T goes on these shows, and like Mr. T's got such a camp factor to him, but don't you dare point that out to him, because like he is all in on it. Like he's totally serious about his persona. So so what to tell you about Willard? It's essentially like a killer rat movie, but it's got like these bizarre layers to it. It's about Willard, and Willard comes from a family that essentially they were a successful they were a family of successful business owners, but something happened where his dad like he must have got sick or something towards the end of his life, and then he had a business partner, and his business partner essentially bought out the business, and so now it's just Willard and his ailing mother. And so Willard spends most of his time taking care of his mother, and then working for the guy, the jerk that bought out his father's business, kind of thing. And he's just constantly the beta male, just utterly destroyed every day at work. His mother is not much better, but she's also like dying, so he's got to take care of her, kind of thing. And in the midst of all of this, she's like afraid that there are rats in the basement. Well, there is, and he meets one of them named Socrates, the white rat, and that becomes his only friend. It's very much like the Michael Jackson song Ben, where his only friend in the whole world is this rat. So he like through this budding relationship, this budding friendship with this rat named Socrates, he learns that he can communicate with all the rats in his house, and there apparently are a ton of rats in his basement, including Ben. The Big Ben is this like huge rat. And this rat's like a monster. Like he can just like chew through tires and chew through walls and all sorts of stuff. And so you have like these almost like 3 different storylines going on in this movie. It's pretty crazy where Willard's just trying to live his life, but it's also got the pseudo Pied Piper supernatural element of him being able to talk to rats that can like destroy stuff. And then you've got like Big Ben, this hulking, almost evil rat that that Crispin Glover he never takes to. Willard never takes to Big Ben. So it starts out with Willard kind of using the rats to like get his comeuppance with his boss kind of thing. And it starts out almost as a positive for Willard. Like he starts to he starts to gain confidence and that kind of stuff. But eventually it just goes downhill, and Willard just gets closer and closer to cracking, and like terrible things start to happen. And then it becomes like a power struggle within the rat community. Like now it's like Ben is just showing up all creepy all the time. So you got Willard being creepy, you got Big Ben being creepy. You've got this girl that's for whatever reason kind of interested in Willard, but not really. It's like a pseudo love interest. It's so bizarre, this movie. I don't want to give away all of it, but like the premise is pretty clear. Awkward man communicates with rats, tells rats to destroy stuff. It's all in the trailer. That's pretty much what you're going to get with this movie, but there's a little bit more to it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the trailer for this coming out, but I've never seen it. And I've never seen the original, which was, I think, from the 70s. But based on that kind of character, Crispin Glover seems like good casting.
I almost watched the original because I was like, I wonder. But I was like, no, really, I just want to watch Crispin Glover.
The original spawned a sequel as well.
That's what I thought. That there was more than one.
I think it was. I could be wrong, but I think it was called Ben.
I have not seen the original, but I did see this one. And yeah, I do think Crispin Glover is great for it.
Does he dance like this?
I don't recall dancing. No,
that's the single. Okay, that's the best thing from Friday the 13th Part 4. I think it is. It's amazing.
He does have some classic like just all in moments. I mean, like, yeah, you take Crispin Glover and put him in a room with Nick Cage and just let them like overact. I don't know what happens.
We create a comic black hole.
Yeah, like does it melt the film? Like is the movie just over at that point?
He doesn't do a lot of I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and he's just done a ton of stuff that I haven't seen. But
no, you know what? He's too dark, like Nick Cage, except he doesn't have Francis Ford Coppola as an uncle. So,
good point. That's a good point. Oh man,
I think I would recommend it. It's not like a great movie. I wouldn't say that like this is a great movie in terms of like acting and whatnot, but it's fun to watch. I mean, I guess it's one of those expectation things. Like, you know what you're getting into when you rent this movie or buy this movie, and then it's not bad. So there you go. Mm-hmm. It's like Tremors.
Yeah.
Paul, wouldn't it be Dead Duck? He said that lame duck sure can dance. I don't think he's making a presidential reference.
No, he's trying to troll me because he knows I hate this duck. not the like
that duck is amazing.
It's cute. Why do you hate it?
Where'd that duck come from?
The duck song.
Okay, naturally.
The duck song that the kids always try to get me to play during art class, and it's like this whole song about one day this duck walks up to the man at the lemonade stand, and he goes up to the man and he says, "Got any grapes?" And so the man at the lemonade stand says, "No, I don't." and so then the duck just waddles away and then comes back the very next day. See how the song goes? And then he does the same thing every day. And he's like, "Got any grapes?" And I hate this duck.
Yeah.
He clearly says on the sign, "Lemonade, duck."
So who would like to go next?
You ask. So I guess that means me.
I can go if you want. You could. Okay, Melanie. Who's going next?
I'll go next. I'll go next.
Okay.
Okay, so I barely had any time. So when I got home and I was like, oh no, I'm going to be late, which, maybe that's why I didn't start the beginning of the podcast. And so I was like, IMDb, look up Infestation movies for me. And then it popped up the movie Infestation, and you can watch it on IMDb for free. So that's what I watched. So I watched this movie, Infestation, and it was actually better than I thought. I was expecting total crap, and it was not great. But there was some funny. It knew what it was, so it played it well. The premise is actually a little kind of interesting. I don't know, but it starts with the guy in right there in the white shirt. He's the main character, and he's going to a job that his dad got him and whatever, and he's getting fired. It's not really relevant, I guess. Well, maybe later, kind of as character development stuff. But and while he's in there, this horrible sound starts, and like everybody's like, and covers their ears and collapses. And then they wake up, or he wakes up, I should say, like 2 days later, maybe a little longer, covered in a looks like they were wrapped up by a spider. And he digs his way out and throws up, and then starts waking other people up. And the bugs are like, they look like beetles, but then there's some of them that fly and sting, and then there's some of them that kind of just look like big cockroaches. I don't know, but it kind of reminds me of Starship Troopers. They have several different bugs, and they all work together. They're not as big as those bugs though, but the main bugs that you see are the beetle ones, and they're blind. So as long as you're quiet, you can
market.
Yeah. So they go around and do things. Try to I think they go to maybe all of their houses at one point. And at one of their houses, you find out I'm gonna spoiler it. You find out that if you get stung, I don't really know what exactly, you become a hybrid, like a drone. And it's gross too, because like your legs fold up on your back, and then you like sprout a bunch of legs, and then you're just basically like a zombie doing their bidding.
I found this.
That's one of them. Yeah.
That's amazing. Look at that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's one of the characters' brother in the thing, and that's one of the things that I like about this is like they're like fighting him, and she's like, no, you're gonna kill him, and they're like, yeah, we know, stuff like that, where they're very aware, and they use it to their advantage, and I thought it was pretty good. It's not a great movie, but it's worth watching.
Cool.
It's got fun. Like there's a part in there where the chick right there with the gun is talking to the guy with the racket, and she calls him solipsistic. And then like a couple minutes later in the movie, he finds a dictionary and he looks it up to see what it is. Stuff like that. I'm like, that's good. So it's worth it for a fun, stupid time.
I appreciate the kind of this is just the poster, mind you, of course, but the kind of throwback, just the way the poster's like the compositing and stuff of the poster, the graphic design makes me think of like a throwback to old 50s monster movies and stuff.
Right. The font even is kind of like Dawn of the Dead or Day of the Dead style blocky lettering.
Or like, wasn't Eight-Legged Freaks around that time period too? I don't think I've ever seen it, but I heard it was campy but entertaining. Like intentionally campy, of course.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a moderate, not necessarily big budget, but a moderate mainstream studio version of that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. And there's some interesting kills in the movie too, of people. I mean, I suppose maybe of bugs, but mostly of people. Like, there was one one of the early on characters that you don't really have any connection to, and one of the flying bugs takes him up in the air, and then something happens that distracts him, and they drop him, and you see him like hit like 3 buildings on the way down or something, stuff like that you just don't see it. It's kind of shocking, but they very well done. So yeah,
cool. I recommend if that type of campy comedy horror appeals to you, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. And of course it has to, or they wouldn't be here. Come
on. Right.
You wouldn't have survived this Monster of the Week thing that we're doing. You wouldn't have come this far if you didn't.
It's a good point. All right. So I'll jump in next. I watched Phenomena. Not Phenomenon. I kept
Phenomena.
Which not the John Travolta Phenomenon movie, which I was like, I'm gonna say the title wrong every time because when I think the title, that's what pops in my head. No, this is Phenomena.
Is that Jennifer Connelly?
Yes. So this is Phenomena from 1985, written and directed by Dario Argento, who, if you is a super famous kind of horror thriller Italian director, or was, and stars a 15-year-old Jennifer Connelly, I believe, 85. And it also has, what's his name? It eludes me, Dr. Loomis. But how is he not even? There we go. Donald Pleasance. He's Dr. Loomis. Let's be real.
Yeah.
And other people, of course.
There are other people in this movie. Weird.
So
it's like 2 old guys and then a bunch of models. What is that about?
It's true. Yeah.
You're not wrong. I feel like that's Italian movies.
Whoa.
No, okay, so
let's quantify that a little.
Speaking of, if you know movies or you're a horror movie fan, you know Dario Argento. But if you don't, he's famous for doing Suspiria, the original, of course, Suspiria, and stuff like, oh man, it's all escaping me, Tenebrae. So basically he'd do like weird horror movies as well as giallo movies, which are Italian thriller mystery movies that are usually like, there's a murderer. It's like a murder mystery type thing. There's a murderer, and you see a lot of women usually getting murdered from first person point of. It kind of it's like a precursor to 80s slashers. Like if you think of the first Friday the 13th, where you see every time like it goes to killer vision, it's like first person point of view, person with a knife, gloved hand, you don't know who it is, and murder scene. That kind of comes from giallo movies. And I set all that up because Phenomena is that and horror, and it's everything. This movie is everything. I'd never seen this one before, and it is weird. It's, on the one hand, it's very much I haven't seen a whole lot of Argento movies actually, but from what I've seen, this movie borrows from all of it. The setup feels very much like if you took Suspiria and drained all the color out, and the music is not quite as good, but still pretty amazing. I'll get to that in a second. But basically, Jennifer Connelly, let's see. I don't think there's no nudity, so I shouldn't have to worry about backdrops pictures here. Oh, that's not great backdrops. But Jennifer Connelly is like the daughter of some actor. She gets sent to some boarding school or something in Switzerland. And the first night there, and also there's a killer. There's a killer happening. We see a different young girl get murdered in the opening scene. Her first night there, she sleepwalks out of the school to where another girl is being murdered, and then into the street. And she is in a daze and wanders around for a bit till she gets hit by a car. And then the two guys out of the car grab her and are driving off. And then she freaks out and jumps out of the car. And then she's in the woods. And then a firefly leads her to some other people. So that's just like, that's just one sequence. And it's just, the movie kind of takes that for a while. Here's the whole thing. She either has or developed, when she got hit by the car, this telepathic connection with insects, which is where it comes to where the theme comes in. And she can on occasion control large swarms of flies. She can also get like telepathic clues as to like the murderer, who the murderer might be, through maggots. And that's another thing. This is Italian horror. Maggots abound. Maggots aplenty. They're all over. It's disgusting. It's in every Italian movie ever made. There's probably Italian romance comedies with maggots. It's so gross. Like, what's the most putrid thing you could find? Maggots. Well, they're central to the plot in this one.
So she's like one of the Mothra twins, only there's only one of her, and it's gross.
And it's really weird. Like, so she has this power, and like it comes into play towards the end of the film. But when it comes to like using this power to track down the killer, it's not. She takes like they call it a sarcophagus fly or something. But like she takes a fly and rides a bus until it freaks out, and that tells her she should be near the bodies and whatever. Donald Pleasance is a wheelchair bound bug scientist, entomologist. Thank you. And he befriends her. He has a helper monkey, a chimp. He has a chimpanzee that hangs around. It's
you buried the lead.
I really did, because so I want to go slight spoilers on here, because I'm not going to tell you everything that happens, but the end of the movie, the end of the movie involves a fish-faced mutant little boy, swarms of flies, and a monkey wielding a straight razor. That's the climax of the movie. Two of those three things are good guys. It's
whoa.
It's amazing. Like, when you break down like what happens in this movie, it's bonkers. The movie itself, I kind of wasn't wild about. It's not great, because the stuff that I recognized is like, that's very much a Dario Argento thing. And I know he's got his certain trademarks. Like, if there's a woman that gets murdered, she's got to get her head shoved through a window in slow motion so that the window can break a certain way, because he does that all the time, which is a very weird director's trademark to have. Tarantino just puts a camera in a trunk, but okay, you want to do this window thing. It seems a little shoehorned in sometimes. Paul says it came out in 85. Are spoilers still a thing at this point? Well, I mean, that's the thing. If we're talking about something like, and I know if you're hardcore, if this is a movie that's really going to appeal to you, you've heard of it already. But that said, this is definitely not a movie that everyone's seen. And I know it's old, but like, if you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil it for you. It'd be like if somebody somehow walked up and was like, I've never seen Psycho and I know nothing about it. I'm not going to then just blurt out the twist. I'll be like, you're the one person. We can actually find we can get you with this twist. Mm-hmm. Come watch it right now. Don't get online. Whatever, that type of thing.
Right.
That's not me. I'd be like, that's what I'd do to him.
Oh no, mother. So that's the problem with Psycho. Like, that's the problem when your twist becomes like a huge pop culture reference in itself.
Mm-hmm.
No one can ever truly experience that twist again in its full glory. It's like The Sixth Sense and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen if you didn't see it within a year of it being in the theaters, the twist is ruined for you.
Yeah.
Anyway,
because the quote is the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're into Italian horror, Dario Argento, if you're a Dario Argento fan, if you like Suspiria, watch this. I gave it 2.5 stars. Maybe it deserves 3, just because like it looks good. The editing, I am not a fan of. It's very awkward in times. There's actually a lot of interesting behind the scenes information. This is one of those movies where I found the information behind the movie more interesting than the movie itself, because there are multiple cuts of this movie, and there's an English language and a foreign language version, because like a lot of Italian movies where they filmed in Italian or whatever, it didn't really matter, because they wouldn't record on stage on scene sound. They would just overdub everything. That's why even if you watch Suspiria in Italian, it's still overdubbed. This movie is a weird mix of both, because they had lots of a lot of American actors who acted their scenes speaking English. And when it was like scenes with her and Donald Pleasance, they would record on set sound and actually use that. But then the Italian or the foreign language version, which was a slightly different cut of the movie, they did let's just overdub everything like we do and make it all Italian. So here's the issue: is even though it's kind of an English language film, the longest, most proper official cut has sections that weren't in the English version. So if you watch this on Amazon Prime, interestingly enough, they had to basically cut together what they could of the English cut and the full official cut. So once in a while, the actors, including Jennifer Connelly, just start speaking in Italian for several lines, and you're like, what? And it's because they didn't have an English language version of that clip. So they kind of pieced it together as they could. It's done well, but anyway. Also, this movie was originally released in the US, cut way down, I think the full version's like 116 minutes long, and the American version was released under the title of Creepers, and it was like 86 minutes, and drastically changes the movie. I have not watched that one, but that's cut way down and was supposed to feel more like a slasher movie, as opposed to a strange fever dream like Argento movies generally feel. And I know I've been rambling on, but one more thing. I mentioned it earlier, the music. So it's got that goblin-y, interesting goblin music. If you look up Goblin, Dario Argento, if you don't know what I'm talking about. That's the true phenomena, instant Italian, says Paul. And I know I say Italian weird.
Yeah.
Melanie has been nice and not said anything about it yet.
I've been thinking it though.
I think they were Italian. Italian. What was I saying? The music. Okay, so whatever. You've got some slightly 70s-ish goblin music, as well as some very 80s synth music, and I loved it. Uh-oh. Okay.
My fault. My bad.
And I loved it. The music was all awesome. It did not always fit what was happening on the screen. For example, there's an Iron Maiden song they used twice. during the weirdest moments, you're like, this doesn't feel like a rock out Iron Maiden moment. She's trying to escape being imprisoned. But okay, it's got a Motorhead song in it. I was like, this is Motorhead? Oh my God, it's so good. But it's like during an exposition scene while some detective is talking to a guy at a mental asylum. It's like, why is there hard rock party music going during this insane asylum exposition scene? It's really bizarre. It doesn't, yeah, as Paul says, his movies have the best soundtracks. And the soundtrack in this, I loved all the music. It's amazing. It doesn't usually fit what's going on, though.
Maybe that's part of his style.
Savannah says, I'm thinking about the way Randy says, Italian too.
Yeah.
I put the
It's a true phenomena.
Phenomena. Italian. Yeah. Okay. Anyway. Probably deserves higher rating. I give it 2.5 stars. Only watch it if you're a hardcore Argento fan and you haven't watched it. Otherwise, just watch Suspiria and be weirded out by that, because that's got plenty of weird too. Although, man, chimpanzee with a straight razor saves the day is amazing.
Dude, they should just do a spin-off movie called Helper Monkey. And
fun fact, that monkey during the shoot bit off a chunk of Jennifer Connelly's finger, and they had to have it reattached.
Dude, that's legit.
And knowing this, like, because Amazon does an interesting thing with their, this is on Amazon Prime, by the way. If you have that, you can watch it. They do this. They have a bunch of trivia and stuff on their app that is there. If you're looking at that instead of the movie. And so I knew that fact before I even started watching it, because it popped up. I was like, oh, okay, interesting. There's a monkey in this movie, huh? So every scene, I'm like, because the monkey saves the day, okay? The monkey with a straight razor saves the day, and
crazy.
She's friends with it. So every scene she's with, like, she's close to the monkey and they're friendly, and I'm just like, it's gonna bite your finger off. What are you doing? Of course, that's not in the movie, but
right.
Okay, enough of that. I enjoyed that. It looks good, but man, and of course not every movie he makes is going to be Suspiria, but it's just Suspiria has such, and some of his Giallo movies the color is such a thing, and the color isn't bad in here, but like seems very much intentionally, the color palette is muted. It's very bright whites and stuff, which is kind of like, it feels like the intentional opposite direction from super saturated nightmare Disney dream, you know? So whatever.
So what's next?
Argento movies music score is always like the person whose face and actions don't match the intended emotions. Oh, okay. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Well, sometimes it works really well, and then sometimes it's Motorhead. Or Iron Maiden, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but the song that's in there, it's rocking. I was digging it. It's so 80s though.
Well, yeah, I mean they are. So
right.
80s.
Right. Okay. So let's move on. Yeah, let's blow through some news. Okay, so let's blow through some news. Let's react to some news, guys.
All right.
Okay. So we'll start with here we go. Wonder Woman 1984. This was actually a little bit of a surprise to me. And I think to a lot of people, because this news went out and I seen it everywhere that day. Wonder Woman 1984 to debut both on HBO Max and in theaters. And it'll be on December 25th. Interesting.
So Christmas.
Yeah.
For those heathens out there. Wait, didn't the heathens invent Christmas? Oh, I'm getting deep now.
Oh, no.
Just keep digging. I'll just keep digging.
Hey, too much reality.
Yeah.
History. Yeah, so Warner Brothers, they might have released a little teaser or something. I don't think I watched it, but the big thing is they announced that Wonder Woman 1984 will be coming out on Christmas. You'll be able to go see it in the theaters in the US, but you don't have to. You can.
Right.
And that's a big thing. I mean, that's why they've held this. This was supposed to be one of the big summer blockbusters, and that's why they held it back, because like theaters, obviously. But that's why I'm also surprised to hear same day and date, and movie theaters have gotten over their being butthurt about it, because like you don't really have a choice. That's such a weird expression. Anyway, it's also going to be on HBO Max. And Melanie was over here when I seen that news, and I mentioned it to her. And you were asking Melanie, like, oh, well, I mean, is it going to cost like, are they going to do like Disney, where sure, Mulan, it was on Disney Plus, but you had to pay $20 still to rent it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And no, this is not the case. It's going to be on HBO Max for a month, I think it said.
Shots fired, Disney.
Dude, it's
watch your butt.
And actually, and I don't remember Soul, I think, is the next Pixar movie. Soul.
Yep.
Disney is going to do the same thing, maybe even that same month. And I think they're dropping that like rental charge too.
Well, because it works so well.
Right.
There was zero outcry about it. I didn't hear anything.
So with Disney, with Soul, that's a big deal. But I feel like Warner Brothers have less tent poles to prop up their tent right now. So it feels like an even bigger deal for them to drop Wonder Woman 1984 on HBO Max and not essentially charge extra for it. I mean, that's obviously like, if we have to, we might as well try to boost Max while we can.
Right. I think it's brilliant. It's smart, because that's if they get a bunch of people to join HBO Max just to watch Wonder Woman, and then they stick around for a few months,
right?
They made the money they would have made in the theater and then some.
That's probably a good point.
I think it's especially smart right now, because kind of like Randy with his Amazon Prime thing, he's like, I'm going to try it for a month for free, and this is like the perfect time to do it, because it's, the holiday season.
Yeah.
People are going to do that, and then they're going to forget. And then they're going to, so yeah.
Amazon's smart about it though, and I don't know if they still do it this way, but they wouldn't and then they'll just charge you by the month. It used to be, then they hit you with that yearly charge.
Yeah, and you're like, no.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're not gonna forget like a $90 charge. Like
I think
that.
They had roped me into at least a year on that once. Just but that's not a fun charge where you're like, oh, that I didn't expect. I forgot about that. Like $100 charge almost. But so yeah, I don't know. Cool. I'm actually kind of excited. Wonder Woman wasn't bad. I don't know that this will be good, but I kind of love that trailer. So
sorry, I was reacting to
is there good ones?
Paul. The last one he said, it's a ploy to hook you for the Snyder Cut.
Yeah. You think? Yeah. Well, I mean, sure. They know, that's the fact that they and Disney both happened to launch a streaming service right as COVID hit.
Yeah.
Is in a way super lucky for them.
Right.
Because all their big tentpole, movies, they're big money makers. They wouldn't have been able to make the money off of. I mean, they would have made some money off of them anyway. But the fact that they and we also conveniently have this new streaming service that needs content. Well, it's not a total loss, I guess. So,
did they invest in 5G? Did they release the COVID? I'm sorry, I'm just kidding. Oh, goodness.
They are the deep state.
I think I'd probably agree more to that than any other theories about stuff.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
Savannah said her first 2 years were the yearly charge. Right.
Mm.
Paul says she rides the lightning. Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. My man.
Okay, moving on. Black Panther 2 will not use digital double of Chad Boseman. We did a story previously about him, I think when he had died, and I totally said the wrong name. So, audio only listeners won't know because I edited it out of that episode.
Podedit.com, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's it. That's kind of like there was the MCU producer who Victoria Alonso basically was asked about rumors that they were going to use a digital, basically that they were going to do a CGI James Dean version of Chad Boseman.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's did that movie ever happen? Is that movie happening?
I don't know.
Whatever movie it was that was like, we cast James Dean. It's like, oh,
okay. Did you?
Weird.
Okay. Sure you did.
That's now our reference for digital doubles, basically.
Yeah. Maybe
So
they could have got CGI James Dean to do the mocap.
Okay, so anyway, it's Black Panther 2 is set to begin filming in 2021, anticipated for 2022 release. Ryan Coogler, the Coogler, is back as the writer and director for the sequel. Okay, I'm super curious as to what they'll do, but they won't replace him with a digital double, so that's probably good. So we should all appreciate Disney for their kindness towards their workers. However, hashtag Disney must pay Alan Dean Foster. So this is something I happened to catch, I think last night. Hashtag Disney must pay was trending on Twitter in the middle of the night. I'm like, what's this?
What's this now?
And I don't know if there have been a bunch of articles on it, but basically it stemmed from a post that the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America president, Mary Robinette Cowell had a post she had made, or an article she had written on their website, basically calling out Disney. Paul says, pay the man. You know what's up. I don't know. I can't read all of this on here. But basically said a member of the SFWA, Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America, their grievance committee had come to them with a problem, and basically they have a grievance committee that when a writer who's a part, is like, hey, somebody's like, this company's violating my contract, whatever, help me out. It's kind of something that they do,
like a union.
Yeah, basically, and normally, apparently, the president says that normally this never gets to her. Like, it's taken care of. They help them out. They work it out with the company. It doesn't, when things go well, she never even hears about it. But this is one that she heard about, and it's basically, so this guy, Alan Dean Foster, is an author.
I feel like we talked about this book like last episode or recently. I don't know why we were talking about Star Wars, but Splinter of the Mind's Eye, that's the really? One Star Wars book I tried to read and got bored and gave up.
Interesting. Oh, Paul. Fake news, Paul. Nobody fakes news harder than Paul. Our ultimate news source says CGI James Dean is still in pre-production. Thank you. Also, that was all a very inside joke to comments.
yeah. You
have
to be on the group to understand what we're talking about half the time.
Right. So yeah, this guy, he had wrote the Star Wars novelization for the first film. He wrote Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which was the first sequel novel. The novelizations of Aliens, Alien 3. Basically, he's done a lot of that kind of work with like Lucas Arts or Lucasfilm or Fox. Basically, several companies that are now owned by Disney. Those books are still in print. Disney now receives the money for those books. Disney refuses to pay him his royalties. It's in his original contract. They're not listening to it. They're like,
wow.
Hey, we bought the properties, not the whatever, the obligations, and
not the responsibility.
That's not how it works. And he has tried to get in contact with them. They initially, apparently, according to the author, supposedly, or allegedly. Thank you. They wouldn't even talk to him unless he signed an NDA before negotiations. And he's like, he said according to the letter that the author wrote, quote, I've signed a lot of NDAs in my 50-year career. Never once did anyone ever ask me to sign one prior to negotiations. For the obvious reasons that once you sign, you can no longer talk about the matter at hand. Every one of my representatives in this matter, with many, many decades of experience in such business, echo my bewilderment, end quote. And so, he's like, no, we still need to talk, but I'm not signing that. And they just ignore him. They will not respond to his agents. They won't.
I bet they listen to him now that he's trending on Twitter.
I hope so. And he's like, listen, it's the terms of in the scheme of what Disney makes.
Yeah,
it's chump change.
It's just not royalties. Pay the man.
Right. And he's like, but to me, both me and my wife have had health issues, and I'm not asking for charity. I'm asking for what I'm owed. And he's like, they bought the contracts, and they're violating those contracts.
Yeah.
And he's like, him and the president both kind of echo the fact that they're doing this to me, just some random random author, they're doing it to tons of people in this situation where they bought all these properties. So yeah, that's the whole thing. It's just basically
can of worms is open now.
And the president of the SFWA, did I say that right? Yes. Makes several points that basically one of the major points is and another thing is you could then sue Disney. You can't sue Disney. You're a dude like this. He's a dude. He might have some agents, but he's just a dude that wrote some, a bunch of novelizations. He doesn't have take Disney to court money. No one has to take Disney to court.
He's smart. He's taking them to court in the court of public opinion.
Right.
He's more likely to win here than he is if he ever tried to mess with their lawyers.
Super smart.
Yeah.
And but the point they made is if Disney can get away with this, it sets a precedent that basically you could set up a scenario where you could take your properties or your contracts you have with people, sell those properties to a sibling company, and then not have to obey any of the contract stipulations.
Which will create, once that precedent is set, then people will just sell stuff to shell companies or whatever.
Yeah,
they'll just create new puppet organizations
and essentially wholesale steal properties from the creators. That's kind of what it is. So yeah, this was one of those. I hope, I haven't checked it today. I hope it has gotten some traction, but it was one of those random things I come across late night on Twitter. Crazy things happen in the middle of the night on Twitter, and I was like, I got things to say.
Man, Walt Disney should. Not Walt Disney the man. That's another monster of the week, but the company should know better. You do not mess with the nerds. Why, of all the people to mess with, you're gonna mess with Star Wars nerds? Didn't you learn your lesson?
Right. Yeah, man, bad deal. So I thought that was a fun story to follow up the Black Panther 2 digital double thing. Real quick, trying to move along here. We're doing okay. This was something, Jesse, I believe you shared in the Grawlix Facebook group earlier this week. By the way, viewer and listener, if you're not there, you should definitely go check out our group on Facebook. We, for the most part, we just post articles and stuff like this, occasional memes, and we'll have little conversations about it. Facebook.com/group/Grawlix podcast or whatever,
Go on Facebook and look up Grawlix. You'll find us.
I post in there far more than we post to the Grawlix Facebook page.
I was say, I think if you do a search, you usually find the group before you find the page.
Right, which is interesting.
I don't know which one is which when I post, so I don't know.
I've noticed that. That's okay. But this is something Jesse had found. Short Circuit remake. Reacted to remake to get. So I found the Deadline article for this. They have to get Latinx Jolt from Spyglass Me. Whatever. There's a Short Circuit remake in the works.
That's really the news. Yeah. Because there was such a clamoring for it.
Yeah, I don't understand it. How? Okay. Ali Sheedy and John Gutenberg are 80s. Steve, shut up. Thank you. I'm lying. Don't shut up. Steve Gutenberg. Why do I call him John? Anyway.
Doesn't matter.
They're like, they are the 80s, That's like, how can you try to replace them? I don't know. It's going to be stupid.
I'm so fascinated that you go to those two specific, like the actors, and they are. Fisher Stevens? They are the 80s, but Johnny Five was my thing. I'm like,
well, yeah, Johnny Five is awesome, but you couldn't make him cuter, I'm sure.
But Johnny Five's. What I feel like, and this is what I said in the group. What I feel the issue is, because I don't think this is necessarily a travesty. I don't think if they do, listen, it's not going to be good.
Right. No, it's like not. RoboCop. Why? You really don't need to remake it. You could, but the whole point of it, yeah.
But the thing that I think would not translate well is Johnny Five, because his look is so 80s robot.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to look like a completely different robot. And it's one of those things where at that point, just make a different movie about a living robot or whatever.
Like WALL-E.
I was going to say he looks a lot like WALL-E, though. So I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but I don't see them. I don't know. They're going to try to, I don't know what they're going to do. Well, then they're going to over-cute him.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I think the idea could work, sure. But the reason I bring up the two actors is because it's a ridiculous type of movie, but they have that stupid kind of 80s fun charm. I don't know. That you just ignored how stupid the story was because they're like, oh, they're cute together. And look at that robot. He's awesome. And that's kind of how it went.
Okay. Yeah, basically. And DeBarge. That's all you needed for this movie.
Paul had said, I'm waiting to react until I see the team and concept. Okay, so team, Project, this is from Deadline.com. I'm getting this information. Project X Entertainment's James Vanderbilt, Paul Neinstein. That's a great name. I would always say Neinstein.
Should have been Vanderbeek. James Vanderbeek. I'd be on board.
James Vanderbeek.
Dawson. Yeah. Put Dawson in a boat. I'm on board.
I don't want to wait for our lives to be over. Johnny Five still alive. William Chirac will produce with Rehab Entertainment's John W. Hyde. Okay, I don't know these names. Okay, Rehab Entertainment's John W. Hyde stepping back into his original role as executive producer alongside Teresa Kelton. Okay.
Is Short Circuit, this is a little bit of a rat hole or a rabbit hole. Is it technically like a Frankenstein movie? If we were going to try and classify it?
I think so.
Kind of, but yeah, no, I guess so. Because really Frankenstein would be a new life anyway. Wouldn't he be?
Mm-hmm.
Though I guess it would depend on.
Yeah, it depends. Like we had that
which
conversation
version of it. Yeah.
Our Frankenstein conversation was kind of great. We really dived.
Yeah, surprisingly,
we
awesome
dove into the
episode
themes.
there.
Yeah, like this one, like Infestation, or even Nick Cage, or whatever. Like, was like these movies, they're crazy.
Crispin Glover's great. You should watch him dance.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I didn't watch that movie, but I want to talk about Crispin Glover.
Right.
But Frankenstein, we actually got into that quite a bit.
Mm.
Because I mean, some cases it's the man that it's the brain that they put in there, or in some cases it's like a new life, new person.
Mm-hmm.
I also think but I would say it Frankenstein has several themes going, and the short circuit thing, artificial life basically is one of the major themes, but it's is
AI life essentially. Like
and they're totally gonna play the AI angle, aren't they?
Oh
yeah,
that's probably why it's such a big deal.
Well,
I feel like
one of the things that I liked about it,
no, I'm sorry, you know how I do,
is trying to figure out whether or not he's real. In doing that, they have to ask like all these questions that like, well, how do we figure out if we're real? You know, what makes us peoples or like conscious or whatever it is. And I like that. That's a good thing to go get into.
And I can't imagine too many people are watching this that don't know what short circuit is, but I should probably pull up images.
I wonder if they'll do like the Kraft legacy thing and like steal all the best lines and be like, no disassemble. Johnny Five is alive.
You know they will. A lot of the pictures I find are from Short Circuit too.
Really? Well, I suppose because he had that whole like punk rock thing, the punk rock makeover at the end of 2.
But here we go.
Hey, laser lips. Your mama was a snowblower.
What was the bit about kicking him in the nuts?
Oh man, it was Los Lobos.
Oh yeah,
he joined it's the gang that he runs into. Wow. Hey, welcome to Grawlix Nights, the Short Circuit 2 fan cast.
So
kicks your balls into outer space.
That's what it was. See, this is why though, like there's elements of Short Circuit which don't hold up that probably could do with an update. That's full on brown face. That guy got cast as like a Middle Eastern guy a lot, and he's a white guy. Why? Why did that happen?
And then they give him like the most like Ben, and then super Indian name or something like
80s. Why you so 80s?
Yeah. Why you got an 80s like that?
Oh, and by the way, Paul said, "Hey, I like the new craft."
I mean, what I'm referencing is like in the trailer where they were like, "We are the weirdos, mister." It's like, "Oh, don't do that."
The line you knew they were going to put in, and they really shouldn't. Just let it.
Just like, oh, just no.
I say that all the time.
Make your references, but
that's Melanie's.
Don't steal your references.
Yeah, don't steal my stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, we can move on. I thought we'd have things to say about Short Circuit though, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Here's something else that probably won't materialize. I really hope it does though.
Oh yeah.
Hold on. No, uprocks.com. I don't get that video out of here. I don't know what that video is, and I better not auto load. I hate sites that do that. Grawlixpodcast.com. We don't do that.
Nope.
In fact, I was looking at it the other day. I'm like, our ad is at the bottom of the site. I need to put our ads higher.
Mid-roll nothing.
So HBO Max says they're working on a way to save the Venture Brothers after it was canceled. So the Venture Brothers, it's so amazing. They've had, it says it's here somewhere, 7 seasons over the span of 17 years. Talk about
wow.
Listen, if you're a Venture Brothers fan, you're a diehard because they would wait years between seasons.
I love Venture Brothers.
And Adult Swim has been like, yeah, whatever, take your time. Do what you got to do.
Right.
Come back when you're ready.
Well, I feel like that's what's going to happen with Rick and Morty now, because they were like, well, you got your contract, but whatever.
Right.
You're the only thing that makes us money right now.
But honestly, I mean, I really like the shows, so I might get mad, but I'm willing to wait if they're going to make it. Like,
that's true.
If they make Venture Brothers shows every 30 years till I die, I will watch them till I die. I'm just saying.
No, yeah, it's great, and that's how it can get away with it. And I'm glad it does have that kind of niche following, because it's one of those shows where I was like, well, I know it, I love it, my friends love it, but you don't hear a lot of people talk about it on the regular. That's because it doesn't come out on the regular, I think. Right. But it does have like apparently a pretty hardcore following, which I'm super happy about, because people are on Twitter like, hey, dude, they're probably hitting up every streaming service. Netflix, is that Yahoo thing still around? I don't think so. But bring it back. So they were tweeting at, who is this? They were tweeting at an executive at HBO Max, and he actually replied. And it was like he said in a tweet, quote, "The Venture Bros fans are passionate but incredibly civil. I've received tons of emails, all of which are short, very well written notes oozing with politeness. Class fans. Nothing imminent, but know that we're working on it. Hashtag save the Venture Brothers."
I wonder how much overlap there is between Venture Brothers fans and Futurama fans.
I would assume a fairly high. Because Venture Brothers, not that Venture Brothers is super smart, but I feel like it's references the things that it's good on its own, but it started, I think it's deviated from being a straight up parody, but it started as pretty much a straight up parody of older properties that aren't exactly mainstream at this point. What's the name? Johnny Quest and stuff like that. So it doesn't necessarily have the biggest mainstream appeal, but I feel like, I think people that like Venture Brothers are kind of smart, and Futurama was also kind of a smart show. Right?
Yes. Yeah, my thing was, though, Futurama was a very smart show, and its fans, I think, were very upset when they canceled it. And I don't know, it basically got them to come back with the 4 mini series things and then another season or 2.
Just right.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Both Savannah and Paul chimed in with Johnny Quest. Yeah. Did I? Yeah. Maybe our chat's behind, or maybe like our feedback is behind here. Okay, there's not really much else to say. That's super vague, but the fact that he would put out any statement on it is interesting. And HBO Max, because they're currently carrying a lot of the Adult Swim, Cartoon Network stuff. Replace Family Guy with Futurama. The fact that Family Guy is still going. Yeah. I'm not a family. I enjoyed Family Guy for a number of years, but eventually I was like, it's just the same stupid stuff over and over. And at this point, I kind of hate it.
I actually haven't watched an episode in years. So I don't even know what it's like right now. I can't say it's the same. I have no idea.
It's probably been like 10 years.
It's pretty much the same. Like the last one I watched was the Trump episode, just because I was morbidly curious, and I was like, yeah, it's the same. It's
Speaking of shows,
funny, I suppose. I guess. I don't know. Not really.
Melanie and I watched not long ago the South Park coronavirus special or pandemic special.
Oh yeah.
pretty interesting. South
Mhm.
Park.
South Park is one of those where it's like it's fallen off my radar, but when I do go back to an episode, like if I just jump in wherever,
Mhm.
it's usually pretty good quality though, you know, like
Mhm.
South Park, and Melanie is responsible for this. South Park, responsible for me coming around to it, because at first it was everybody would like. I was in high school when it first started coming out, and
sure.
you'd hear the lines. Everybody would repeat
Yep.
the lines, and I never watched it. And I was like, this just sounds like the dumbest show. So I never watched it because I was like, it sounds like how I feel about Family Guy now, where you just hear the dumbest people parrot those lines over and over again. So I was like, I don't want to watch it.
Right.
And then I started dating Melanie, and she loves it, and she got me to watch it. It's great. The writing is consistently amazing on that show.
Mhm.
It handles current events so well.
Mhm.
Something kind of interesting about, and I get what they're doing because they always make a point to make fun of both sides. I feel like sometimes it's just like you kind of muddy your message, but because they don't really have a message, they're making fun of everybody. Sometimes maybe you could,
Pick a side.
Pick a
kind
side.
of.
Yeah.
In something like the pandemic special, because most of the time you're like, okay, I see what they're getting at, and it's pretty good. But by the end, you're just like, you guys didn't really commit to anything, did you?
Right.
Anyway,
I think it is funny though. Like they did hold true to their vision. Like their original vision, like when they were asked in interviews, was like, we want, like we want to be around long enough where we can take the show in so many bizarre different directions that it'll be like, hey, remember back when South Park was just about like Kenny dies every episode and da 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 da, and it was like, they're there, like I don't know if Kenny still dies in every episode, but like I doubt it.
He died in the pandemic special, but yeah, felt like that
kind of
felt
has to.
That felt like a throwback,
That
felt like a reference. The meta is amazing because like it adds this interesting consistency to where once certain characters, they kill them off, with the exception of Kenny. Almost anybody else, if they kill them, they're gone forever. And but I mean, Simpsons did it. The Simpsons did it is amazing, and that's like them saying like, we're to that point, and only the Simpsons has one up on us in terms of like longevity and weird meta lore.
Yeah,
to where they're trying to come up with things to do, and everything they do, they're like, Simpsons did it, and they're like, God, how did we break out of it?
Well, one of the ways I think that they maybe can, and one of the things that I find the most fascinating about the show is their turnover. Is that what you call it? I don't know, but where like they make an episode in a week.
The turnaround time.
Yeah.
That's how they can be so current. Yeah.
I don't understand how anybody could do that. Make an entire episode in like a week's period and then get it out so they can stay fresh and maybe because they're slackers. I don't know. But I think at least Trey Parker is a genius, if not both of those guys.
Yeah.
Watch their musicals too. It's funny. Oh, wait, real quick. I think the reason, people will appreciate the reason that I got ready to watch it, because I was like, the season finale of whichever season, they were supposed to reveal the father of Cartman, and then they just didn't, and they lost like so many fans. And he's like, I have to watch this show. So there you go, guys.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing. Because they will do things that hurt their viewership, and they're just like,
and they're okay with it.
Yeah.
Oh well, let's keep going. I respect that. I'm a sucker for crapping on your fans. I don't know why. Maybe there's something to what Paul was saying earlier, but it just amuses me. Okay, another one. This one was another one that I believe you shared, Jesse. Freakazoid to return as a Teen Titans Go guest star. Freakazoid. How weird is that?
Yeah.
Like Animaniacs, I haven't checked out. Paul mentioned at the beginning of our stream in the chat that he's been watching Animaniacs, and I'm assuming liking it. I've heard kind of mixed things about it.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I haven't checked it out yet. I need to. I love the original run, but
yeah, Animaniacs.
Also Freakazoid. I remember us talking about that, and I was like, "Oh my god, what?"
Because we make things happen.
I guess
we say them, and they come back. So we need to be careful not to talk about things we like and don't want remade or rebooted.
Yeah.
But this is fine. Whatever. A guest star in Teen Titans Go, which is very much, it seems, from what I've seen, of irreverent, wacky type show. And that's Freakazoid. And I mentioned Animaniacs. Right. If you don't know, Freakazoid, I don't know if he was a character directly spun out of Animaniacs, but that felt like very much an Animaniacs spinoff. It was like, let's take the Animaniacs zaniness with a capital Z and dial it up to 17.
Yes.
Because 11's not high enough.
Clearly not.
Yeah, it was so weird, and I enjoyed it. I have a feeling it probably doesn't hold up that well. I don't know.
I mean, it's the references are just as baffling now as they were back then.
That's
we were just thing. Like, why is it a Jerry Lewis impression half the time? Just like slips into a Jerry Lewis. Yeah.
In a way, it was kind of ahead of its time in that, like, it was before weird for the sake of weird comedy in animated form, especially blew up. Like it was still kid rated. It was still a Saturday morning cartoon type show, but it had that super weird, almost Adult Swim quality before Adult Swim. It's basically, Animaniacs, where they're like, this is too weird. We're going to put it in we're going to do this over in Freakazoid.
They had the weird clips of music and like nothing animation in between. It would have been just like Adult Swim.
I called it though. I mean, it kind of started with Fuller House, but Freakazoid's animated cousins, Animaniacs and Tiny Toon Adventures, have also received revivals of their own, because we're past the 80s and we're into the 90s. Right.
Wait, Tiny Toons is coming back?
It will premiere on HBO Max.
As like a college, like the college age Tiny Toons or something. But it'll be those characters. Yeah.
No, I was thinking of like the baby ones.
Paul said the Teen Titans Go episode is decent. The next episode had Beetlejuice. Really?
The animated Beetlejuice?
I'm down with that. That was a great Beetlejuice.
I loved the animated Beetlejuice show.
Yeah, I liked it too.
I found it weird that they made him not a villain, but like him and Lydia as friends, that shouldn't have been what that show was, because that's not the movie.
No.
He tried to marry her against her will. But okay.
We come for your daughter, Chuck.
So good. You put me there. I'm flashback there for a moment. I see Michael Keaton in the miniature graveyard. Nice effing model, honk honk. It's
yes.
It's like some type of bug prostitute house. It's amazing. God, Beetlejuice is the best. They're gonna mess that up. Didn't we do that story not long ago?
Yeah,
where it's actually looking like it might happen, but Johnny Depp's gonna be involved in somehow, because of course he is.
Not necessarily. They just said he was talking to Tim Burton, so it could be
that means
it's either that, or it could also be another Addams Family series thing, and I would be okay with him as a Gomez. He's not going to be the same, but I'd rather him a Gomez than anything in Beetlejuice.
The Addams Family thing would be a TV show, and I don't like Jep.
Johnny Depp.
Jep. I just shorten it. Johnny Depp doesn't ever do TV.
Well, maybe he will. Maybe
not since 21 Jump Street.
Maybe it's time for him to settle down.
Well, really, it is
time for him to settle down.
It really is.
Darkwing Duck is. Oh my God, Paul! Here we go. Here's a. Darkwing Duck is getting a remake. That's okay. I enjoyed Darkwing Duck as well because it was basically just a Disney parody of Batman. It was Batman with a duck in it.
Right. Well, it tied in directly to the new DuckTales.
DuckTales, yeah.
Which is happening over there on Disney Plus, and it has David Tennant as Uncle Scrooge. It's amazing. Oh, wait,
there's a new DuckTales. Okay.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's great. And so there was a couple of episodes with Darkwing Duck. So they've brought all these things in together. They've even got Chippendale Rescue Rangers.
Really?
They show up in there, and I think Goofy shows up, and they even show that Max is doing fine from a Goofy movie and Goof Troop.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get dangerous.
What about DuckTales?
Let's get dangerous.
Get dangerous. Paul says, yes, the animated Beetlejuice with references to the movie. Interesting. So what you're saying is Teen Titan Go is getting real gimmicky.
Like they weren't. They had Nicolas Cage as their Superman in their movie.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it was awesome. I was like, wait a minute, is that Nicolas Cage? Is that Nicolas Cage? I was like, oh my God, that's Nicolas Cage as Superman. And I got that joke. I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I might have to get over my funk about it and watch it more of it. It's just, I don't hate it, but what I've seen of the show, I'm like, okay, but it's overly bombastic. And I was like, okay, great. Like, I'm sure kids love this. It's too much. It's insane.
I did go to the movie because that was during my movie pass phase. Remember that? It was one of the few movies I could go see in that weird block of time where it was like, movie pass works when it wants to.
And that the movie came out around the time they dropped that Titans trailer where they got Robin saying F Batman. I'm like, what is going on?
The timing was so bizarre.
What are they doing? They're just like all markets all the time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what? We've brought it around. Let's do this. Let's do it.
Might as well.
Snyder Watch.
You know, he looks so pleasantly confused
in that.
Yeah.
So Snyder Watch this week. There's a lot of news, yet very little news. I only earmarked one story, but I've got Google pulled up because there were several that I see, and I was like, that's a throwaway. That's a one-liner. I don't want to save the story, but maybe I'll mention it. The one I saved, though, was Jared Leto's joke. This is from ScreenRant.com. Jared Leto's Joker was never part of the original Justice League story. Shocker.
Oh.
Or as this was one I think I posted on the Facebook page was, in other news, water wet. Yeah. Okay. So, that we reported it. That I feel weird saying that. We don't report the news. We reacted to the news that he was cast in the reshoots.
We reacted poorly.
And that's when everybody was like, there was no Snyder Cut.
No.
Now they keep insisting. Okay, so and we also talked about that $70 million budget for reshoots, and we're like, how is this not just a new movie?
Right. Is it you say 70? Is it 70 million?
70 million.
They're approaching, man.
It started at 30. 70 million.
I was going to say
multiple movies.
Yeah.
For the window dressing that is this cut.
Right. So
it's gonna suck.
Yet at the same time, only 4.5. The new thing they're saying is only 4.5 minutes of actual new reshoots. Like it's only going to count for 4.5 minutes. But I had read earlier today somewhere that 70 million also covers the CGI like that they need to finish, and I'm like, okay, that seems like a lot, but I know CGI is expensive, so okay.
So they're hiring Jared Leto for 4.5 minutes.
Hiring them all for 4. Also, I have a feeling, and I could be wrong, a lot of the reshoots will actually be like voiceover, because they're going to like whatever new plot lines he thought up since working on it originally. He's just gonna like ham fist so much like random ADR and voiceover to try to fit in this new stuff. So they're gonna have them come in and record the main cast come in and record a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah.
I'm back to worried about this. Like I never thought it was gonna be good, but like for a minute there I was like, man, they could do this better. Like I don't know. I'm gonna watch it either way, but I'm back to it's gonna suck. This is gonna be a hot mess.
So yeah, Joker was not a part of the original shoot. He was not a part of the original script, I'm guessing. It sounds like, from what I read somewhere, I don't know if it was Screen Rant here or somewhere else, that almost like he'll be in like a montage or something, maybe. I don't know. Apparently
they'll basically throw a Suicide Squad music video in the middle.
Right.
Just hire the Suicide Squad trailer people to do it.
Joe Magniello, that I never say it right.
Oh God, no.
McClunky all over again, Paul says. And then some. Shares Deathstroke's new look. Why does he have a new look? I assumed they had already shot his stuff because we've seen him in the theatrical cut in the one after post-credit scene.
Right.
Why does he have a new look? Okay. From an hour ago, movieweb.com, is that a .com? I'm assuming so, is reporting Zack Snyder's Justice League is bringing 2.5 hours of on-scene footage to HBO Max.
Like, that's like a whole nother movie.
That's a whole nother movie.
That's not a cut. It's a whole nother movie.
That's a whole nother Batman v Superman length movie.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's like another 2 regular movies.
Oh God.
There was so much because he can't help himself, and people, of course, are after about it. He did he released a black and white, like a couple days ago, black and white updated trailer.
I saw that and I was like, why?
It's kind of the same.
Because I looked at it and I was like, oh, there's a new trailer.
Yeah.
Is it though?
It's because they're trying to feed us some Star Watch material.
No, that's why. Yeah.
That's right.
Well, thank you, Warner Brothers. Much appreciated. They're just like, hey, get out there and tweet something so that them Grawlix guys got something to talk about.
Can I real quick? Also, Paul said it's McClunky all over again, and I don't know if it's the way that it's spelled, but I was like, is he trying to smush together Macaulay Culkin and Anna Klumsky or whatever her name is?
Is that what George Lucas was on about? He was shipping My Girl? Kind of inappropriate.
Greedo was on some next level stuff. Maybe Han did shoot first.
How crazy is it that Disney got the rights to Star Wars, released it, and people are like, there's changes again, and Disney's like, we didn't know that's what George gave us. He was changing it constantly. There were changes that were never released, and he sold it to Disney, and they're like, whoa. How insane that is.
You kind of made a Mickey Mouse noise just now with your Gosh, that's a weird sound.
That's a good Goofy. In 10 years, we're gonna be recording podcasts about the Snyder Cut, the new version. right. The remake, the reboot. And we're like, they're really gonna,
They're gonna make Cyborg. He's not gonna look convincing because that was the way that they looked back into the 2020s. You know, I mean, they're gonna use all the same lines again and be like, "My man." I don't know. It'll be too on the nose.
Okay. There were lots of things. I'm not finding them now. None of them were that important. Like people are still reporting Zack Snyder gives a new look at Steppenwolf. They're just doing what they're doing. I get it.
Didn't we talk about that? Like, oh, they changed him a little bit.
Right.
He doesn't look so much like a cartoon. He looks more like a man. Ish.
Listen, I know everybody's tired of it, and I know it's gonna suck, and I was never excited for this. I think I'm more and more excited as time goes on. I can't wait.
Because it's a train wreck, and you're gonna have to see the damage. Like, where are the bodies gonna fall?
2.5 hours of on-scene. This thing's gonna be 4 hours long at least.
I mean, at least they're breaking it up. At least they're making it like episodes or something.
Super smart. Smart way to do it. Melanie's like, God.
She's not wrong either, though.
When are they releasing it? I'm taking that month off from Grawlix.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm not down for no.
Grawlix will go into hiatus and we'll come back, and our show will be about it.
Yeah, I don't need a Snyder Cut mini series. Okay, I'm fine.
We're doing episode.
We'll do a David Lynchian breakdown of it, and be like, everything will be about it.
Paul just says salt shaker emoji.
That may be the comment of the night.
I don't know why the picture is sometimes showing up and sometimes. Oh, there it is. Okay, weird. Oh, guys, I feel good about today.
Yeah.
This was a good show.
Yeah.
And I know it's late, but we went shorter.
We did.
Okay.
I'm amazed. I wonder what else I should be amazed about.
Me too. I'm wondering as well.
Okay, real quick, then. In a first, scientists say they've partially reversed the cellular aging process in humans. It's a super small group, though. It was only involved 26 patients, but they had them sit in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber for 5 90-minute sessions per week for 3 months. And as a result, some of their cells, telomeres were extended by up to 20%. And those are like, it's like if your cell was a shoelace, they're like plastic caps on the end that hold it all together. And when they replicate to make a new cell, they kind of come undone and fray a little bit, and that leads to like the end chromosomes messing up and can cause mutations, which can cause aging and cancer and other, things. So
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah,
because I totally understand what you're saying, which is so nice for one of these. I love that. Okay, I'm on board.
Right. So like I said, it's a really small study, but the news is super exciting. So they need to kind of like emphasize, especially because it's something that's so simple. Sitting in a hyperbaric chamber. I mean, I'm sure it's not cheap, but it's basically you just sit there and get super oxygenated. And if that can, not necessarily reverse, but what do you call it?
Like stretch it out, prolong it.
Yeah.
Stall it a little bit.
Yeah, stall the aging process. That's amazing. So they're gonna do more studies on it, but there you go. They may have found a way to slow down aging.
Yeah, they're not gonna let us do it. We're not rich.
Yeah,
No, it is super. It's weird that it's something like. I wonder what that
sounds useful. Someone will stop it.
Do they? Yes.
I kind of think everybody should have a hyperbaric chamber though, because it's been shown to help with concussions, help people heal from concussions. Like amazing results with that. And there's also been what was it? There was another thing. Oh, depression. It's been shown to help with depression, and it has a really amazing results with that too. So They should just have those like on the street corner. You can like pay $10 and spend, you know, the 20 minutes in a hyperbaric chamber.
Hyperbaric mask kind of thing. Like we all just wear masks all the time forever.
Well, yeah.
So what? It's my freedoms.
You got your freedoms to die early, son.
Oh man, I have been very
both levels too. I love it.
I've been following the news very closely for a while now. I generally did, but like I was checked out for a while. I've been following it closely again. It's a mistake. I probably shouldn't. But yeah, man, along those lines, things are not good right now.
Yeah.
Things are not good in the States right now, everybody. Thanksgiving is coming up. Oh, there won't be an episode next week.
Oh, that's right. Gobble, gobble.
Yeah, sorry, no episode on Thanksgiving. We'll all be probably busy.
Some of you are maybe thankful for that. I don't know.
That's true. Snyder Watch special. You don't doubt it. It's happening.
It's cornucopia.
Anyway, so yeah, hey, have a good Thanksgiving, everybody. Be safe. You're all gonna go to your family's house. You shouldn't.
Don't kill your relatives.
But if you do, go get. That's what I'm gonna try to do. I'm gonna go get a test and see where I am at that point. And if
that's
I'm
a smart way to go.
It's still the smartest thing is to stay home, but so you should really do that. You should stay home.
I would say you could probably mask up, but I know there's a lot of families that are just not going to be cool with that. I mean, it'll probably cause as many problems as it will solve.
I think that this is an awesome format, and everyone should just have all of their holidays as boxes lined up, and we can just say what we need to say, and then, like, you know, my parents can tell me I'm a disappointment, even though I'm the favorite, and, you know, whatever, and then I'll be like, yeah, cool, I love you guys too. You ruined my childhood. Okay, bye. You know, I mean, not really, but you know, those basic kinds of things.
So honestly, really limited my potential as a human. Have a good holiday. Bye.
Just an honest holiday. Yeah.
Yep.
Killing relatives is a Thanksgiving tradition, Paul says.
A little bit.
I really do wish, like, I should go over to my mom sometime, and she has a laptop, but set up a computer that's just always like on with Skype or Facebook Messenger or something that is just ready to go. And be like, if you want to hang out, this is how we should do it.
You click this
much
button.
Safer than
it's this easy. Yeah. Click this button right here. Yeah, Messenger has made it pretty crazy easy to make. I mean, like, you do it by accident. You butt dial people more than you actually dial people.
And people,
right.
People are always calling me, and I'm like, I'm in the bathroom. Turn your video off. I don't know. I have to turn my video off. Actually, that's what I'm doing. But I'm like, why are you calling me right now?
Right. Yeah. No. Video calls.
I do that anyways. Normal phone calls. Like, why are you calling me? Who called me?
Honestly, in my normal phone calls, I like it when people call me in the bathroom, and then I flush at the end, so they have to hear it and know that whole time.
You the like making it awkward. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So the funny thing is, you don't like that kind of awkward humor, that cringy humor.
Nope.
But you like to subject people to it.
You'll do it, but you don't want to witness it.
Yeah, I don't want to. Exactly. Yeah. Thanks, Mom.
You know, in the past, I remember being like, video phones, it's the future, so exciting, and then we essentially get them, and I'm like, don't ever call me at all. Just don't.
Yeah, don't call me. And no, what, you want to see me too? No. But we'll do that once a week for you, viewer.
I can't believe. Eventually, I'm gonna set Melanie up with one of those like virtual avatars, so we have more of a representation. We'll get a cartoon character, Melanie. But I can't. We've been doing these video streams for almost a year. Oh, science is good.
Science,
but it doesn't emote.
Science is like magic, but real.
Right.
Yeah.
We've been doing here, little Thanksgiving thing. We've been doing these video streams for almost a year, and that's kind of amazing. I don't think I would have guessed a few years ago when we were doing Grawlix that we'd be doing video streams every week.
Oh, I mean, like for a while there, it was like, no, we're not going to do video streams like at all.
Right. Right.
Like I remember it being a major hurdle before we did the first one ever.
I think I just had to get over the desire to edit a podcast.
Yeah. Yep. There you go.
I had to get over because that was kind of, and that was, now we're used to it. That was also the thing. It's like, we have to censor ourselves. And how's that going to fly on live streams? But we've done well. We got over it.
Yep. I'm patting myself on the back.
You do great.
Thank you, baby.
And then you drop an F-bomb or something all out of nowhere.
Occasionally. No.
If anything, you drop the SH bomb once in a while, but you usually catch yourself on it.
Yeah, I try not
to. Then you got Castboxed. Yeah, it was really Castbox set it off.
Yeah, ironically, that got us used to a live format, and then it was like, well, video is just one more step. It's almost easier to do video than it was to deal with Castbox, because at least you guys can't call us. Right.
Castbox is such a good idea, yet still it was so flawed in having people being able to just randomly call in sounds cool, but also like you kind of should have known better.
Yeah.
And part of it is like it's so much easier to be like go to YouTube or Facebook or whatever than Castbox. Go here, sign up for Castbox. It's like, nah, that's a pain.
Yeah.
Then the best way to call us is if you have the app. So if you sign up for it, then you have the app, then you hit the thing, and then you're in.
And their community they ended up fostering it was strange. It was interesting, but it was strange. There were people on there that would just audio live stream like all day. They're just all the time. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you even talking about?
Right.
Random stuff that they could be talking about after the podcast. So
they were basically using it like a chat room. That's what they were doing. Essentially, is just an audio chat room that they were just in, and they just talk about whatever. It was like, I don't think you understand what podcasting is.
Well, that on its own
is podcasting anymore.
That on its own, yeah, that's exactly it. That on its own is kind of cool, but eventually, I was like, we're not right for this platform, because this platform has become like, this isn't what we do.
Right.
I mean, we could do it,
but not today.
Paul gave us a middle finger and said, I'll call if I want to call, because that's where Paul came from.
That's true.
That's how Paul got in.
How do you call in this thing?
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Huh.
Well, I mean, he knew of us outside of that, but that's when we started talking to Paul. Okay. He was a regular with us on Castbox for a while.
Yep. The lunchbox.
All right. That's a weird impromptu stroll down memory lane.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for listening. Have a good weekend. Have a good week. This episode will go out Monday, so it'll be Thanksgiving week when this episode goes out on the podcast feed. Podcast listeners, have a good Thanksgiving. Listen to everything we just said.
Yep.
Do as we say, not as we do.
Celebrate the murder of indigenous peoples. Pretend like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Like bringing diseases over from other countries, on a ship.
Thanksgiving is very much like Christmas for me. I like the things that we do on that day. I like presents and I like turkey foods. What it's for doesn't really matter.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, that's Melody's like, this has been over a while now.
And we
stretched it to about 2 hours. Good job.
Yeah.
Grawlixpodcast.com. If you want to become a Patreon member, go to patreon.com/Grawlix podcast. It's GRAWLIX podcast. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.